Well, I guess that was either twin with the first worst day or the second worst day I ever had. I was at a Florida Peace Officers Club officers meeting in Panama City when I got the call about 9 o'clock at night, and that the J prison was on fire. And of course, by the time I got there, why, it was over almost. The fire was. What occurred is it was a attempt to have an escape. They wanted newspapers up in the end of the building, and I guess they'd been saving them for some time. Anyway, they had a bunch of newspapers, and they wanted them up in the end of the building and set them on fire. And the officer told them to put them out. They would let the building burn. He said, let it burn. Well, in the other end of the building was a large fan that pulled through there. And the fire got started, and they broke lights out along the way. And before the officer could get the key, the officer at the building didn't have a key. He had to get it out of the building next door, which may not have been good planning, I don't know, but you couldn't give it to the inmates, so we didn't have many staff. At any rate, the fire was very rapid, and by the time the officer was able to get the key and get to the door, he got burned seriously getting the door unlocked. And 38 inmates were killed, I believe it was, and 8 or 10 survived. Some of them, after they got out, passed out because of smoke inhalation. And it was a very, very serious situation. But I'd like to tell you, in addition to that 2 years, for several years before, and especially the previous legislature, I had pleaded with them to let us close the wooden road prisons, and they declined. And then 3 months later, we had this fire, 3 or 4 months later, and it killed 38 inmates. After that, they decided we could close the 11 wooden prisons that were left. And then the fire marshal did test burnings on those buildings, and it was a matter of minutes before you could be suffocated and burned in one of those buildings. They were fat lighter buildings, if you know what fat lighter is. It's and the families came. It was during Claude Kirk's administration. Many families came. I talked to ones there. Dave Bachman, who was the deputy secretary, was there, came, and as did both of the assistant secretaries. We talked to any of the family that wanted to talk to us. Of course, we had the sheriff and the state attorneys, people out, everybody that we were supposed to have out. And we didn't turn down anybody. We stayed there all night. I left about noon the next day, and prison inspectors were in by that time, and Governor Kirk called me and asked me if he needed to come down. So I explained it to him. I said, be happy for you to come, Governor, but I don't know a thing you can do that we haven't already done. And he said, well, I'll leave it up to you then. So he didn't come.